Well, good morning. So this week, actually, your lesson is not going to be due until the very end of the week, Friday or maybe even Sunday night. So this will be your only lesson for this week, but I'm going to be sharing different parts of the lesson throughout the week, so you're going to want to check back. Today, I just want to get you started in TinkerCAD. So you should have hopefully had a chance to create an account with the help of your folks. And when you open up TinkerCAD and log in, you should see a page that looks something like this. What's most important is that you have this right up here, these selections. And what we want to do is we want to go under Learn. And when we go to Learn, okay, it should look something like this. But what's most important is we're going to select Lessons right in the center there, and that's going to bring up a series of tutorial lessons. Now, when I click on it, the chess pawn, which is the one we're looking for, is right here. But if it's not in this first part, then just simply select See All Lessons and look for the chess pawn and select it. So now you want to come over here, come down to chess pawn, and when you hover on chess pawn, you'll notice it says Start. So now we're into TinkerCAD. So what's nice about TinkerCAD is on these lessons is it gives you a step-by-step instructions on how to do the project. So over here on this side is where you're going to see what it is it's asking you to do. This right here is, as it says, your work plane. And then over here are all of the shapes that you're going to use to build this chess pawn. So somewhere in this list, you will find the shape that they're asking you to put into the work plane. So I'm going to go through the first couple of steps with you because I want to show you some things that they don't really talk about in the steps. So the first step says drag a cylinder shape to the work plane. So you'll notice they've shown you exactly where to put that cylinder. And so what you do is you come over here to your shapes library, and you grab the cylinder and you bring it out onto the work plane and you drop it right on top of where it asks you to put it. Now every time you bring out a shape, it's going to bring up this information window. And what we want to do is, if I zoom in on this, I'm using my scroll wheel on my 3-button mouse, you notice that it's segmented. There's these flat segments. Well, that's because right now there are 20 sides. So there's these segments or sides. So disregard segments down here. We're going to look at sides. I want you to maximize that sides, and it makes it 64. So now each side is much smaller, and it's much smoother. Now you can collapse that right there just to get it out of your way. I'm going to zoom back out. So I've done the first step. I've dragged the cylinder to the work plane. So I just go to Next. And now it says to scale the height smaller. So when you look at a shape, there are handles. And these 4 handles on the bottom give you, in this case, it gives you the diameter. So if they wanted us to change the diameter of the cylinder, that's where we'd select. But they want us to change the height. So you notice there's the height. I click on it. I click on the 20. It said 3 millimeters, so I type in a 3, enter, and it pushes it down to 3 millimeters. Now, there's a couple of other things here that I just want to show you. We're not using these right now, but you will later. One of them is this black cone. This black cone is what we call the lift tool. See how I can raise and lower Okay? And if you ever make a mistake, you should be able to do a Control-Z and it'll go back where it was. So I just did Control-Z and it put it back where it was because I lifted it. Then you have a couple of other tools. This one above the black cone, okay, is a rotate tool. So when you hover over it, you can see there's a protractor, and you can see that you can rotate by holding down. You can rotate your piece, and I would suggest that you let the computer rotate it. So when you click on that, come up here and click on what it is you want it to rotate. If I want it to rotate 90 degrees, just type in 90 degrees, enter, and let the computer rotate it for you. Okay, so that's the rotate tool that you're going to use later as well. Command-Z, Control-Z, and it's back where it was. Okay, again, you saw that I can zoom in and out if I want to with the roller wheel on my mouse. Another great tool is this view cube. This view cube allows you to look at your shape from these different points of view. So right now we're looking at it at an angle. So in other words, if I clicked on front, it's going to rotate and I'm looking straight at it. In this case, from ground level, looking straight at it. And if I click here, just above front, we're looking at it again at an angle so we can see the front and the top. You're going to want to go and look at things from the top almost every time you put in a new shape, because and modify it, because you want to make sure that it's aligned with the outline that they want you. So you notice I don't have mine completely aligned with the orange outline. The easiest way to move that around is to use your arrow keys. So I push the up arrow once, and notice it's lined up now perfectly with my where they wanted me to have it. So I'm going to go back now and look at it from an angle. There we go. And I'm going to go to the next step. So I just hit next because I've completed all those steps. Now drag the work plane to the top of the cylinder. Shortcut is W. All right, so I'm going to type a W, and I'm going to bring my mouse over, and there is my icon for my work plane. Now here's the thing. That white cone that my pointer is hooked to, that has to be on the top of your wafer. You notice if you put it over here, it's not on top of your wafer, and it won't move the work plane to the top of your wafer. That's the only one that is off. So just make sure that when you do this, that it's on top of the work plane, on top of the cylinder. And you notice it went orange. If I look at it from the front view now, you can see my wafer is underneath my work plane. Okay, because everything comes in on the work plane. So this is important for the next step. All right, a couple of more tools up here that I want you to be aware of. I'm going to release that. Actually, so the only tool that's available now is the mirror tool. We won't be using that. At the very end, they ask you to align things. Okay, so there's your alignment tool. And then at the very, very end, they ask you to group. And I'm sorry my camera is so wiggly, I'm holding it by hand. So there's the group tool. So when you get multiple items, so let's just go one more step so I can show you multiple items. It says now to bring in a cone. So I'm gonna scroll away. I'm gonna come over here. I don't see the cone, so that means I just got to go down in my list. There's the cone. Bring the cone in. And again, I want to place it as close as I can where they asked me to put it. And once again, I'm going to make sure that the sides this time are maximized. 64 sides. That smooths out the cone. And now I'm going to see what they want us to do. Okay, so I've drug the cone. And, oh, and again, as I said, it will come in on the work plane that we reestablished. So it's on top of our cylinder. To prove it, there it is, sitting right on top. Okay, so we can go to the next step. And they want the height to be 11 millimeters. So again, the side handles do the diameter of the cone, and this handle at the top does the height, and they wanted it to be 11 millimeters. So I type in an 11, enter, and it smushes it down. Now again, I mentioned I would always check to make sure that it was lined up. So I lined it up perfectly, but if it wasn't lined up, I might see a little bit of the orange sticking out from the wafer in one way or another. So I just use my arrow keys to reposition it so I can't see any of that orange. Then I'm going to go back to my angled view at the corner of my cube, and there's that. So now that I have two things, when you want to select at the end everything, it said you just need to draw a box around your entire piece, and now you'll notice these become available. I can group it and I can align it. So I'm going to just show you what the align tool looks like. I'm not going to align anything, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. So you can align things in lots of different ways. What they want you to do is they want you to align the center of everything. It's not the center of the height, but the center of the base. So there, they want you to align it on this side, and they want you to align it on this side. And what that will do is, even though you've hopefully been going and looking at it from the top every time, that will actually, the computer will actually move everything into vertical alignment. And then, again, it's going to ask you later to group it. So once you've selected the entire thing, you can hit group. And that basically, for 3D printing, that welds all those individual things together into one piece. If we didn't group it, then they wouldn't get welded together. So that should be all of the hints and tricks that I want to share with you. Tune in later to find out how to submit your chess pawn. Okay? Have fun. Bye.